in your coaching career?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, let me just, start in high school. We had, after my family split, we had moved around a little bit, and we found ourselves in Colorado. I was at Douglas County High School. That's in Castle Rock, Colorado, just south of Denver. And the school was big. I think that county's a lot bigger now, but there was just, 3 high schools in that Douglas County, and I went to Douglas County High School. And I left, halfway through, maybe even the tail end of my junior year. We ended up moving again. But I spent the majority of my high school years at Douglas County, and I probably had just under 500 kids in my class. There's a ton of kids. And, a big football program. I ran track there, and, I was really starting to excel at football. And, that was working out for me. And there were people telling my mom that, hey, you should think about getting him ready for college because it looks like he's going to go do something. And right then I was kind of like, yeah, this is something that, can probably get me into college. This is my path. But I also excelled at track too. I could run pretty quick and jump far. And I think I cracked 20 feet in a long jump as a sophomore. Might have been right at the end of my freshman year, maybe. I can't really remember. It was a while ago. It was in the mid-'90s. But anyway, at the end of my sophomore year, I remembered that's the first time I jumped 22 feet. And so that was like, okay, I got something here. This is good. And it just fueled my passion more. We ended up moving up to South Dakota, very small town, east of Rapid City. And it was a tiny town. I graduated with 23 kids in my class. So the coaches,
wow.
Yeah, very small. Talk about a culture shock. I was the only kid. Actually, there was maybe 2 or 3 kids that didn't have cowboy hats. I mean, it was, it was just two different worlds. You know what I mean? And down in Colorado, I had some coaches that were real serious, good coaches in football. Track, there was some good coaches too, but I didn't have like a specific jump coach, so a lot of the stuff that I was doing was just raw ability. I didn't know how to land right, and I didn't know how to take off from the board right. I was just running and jumping. But anyway, I started to get some looks my senior year up in South Dakota, and a lot of eyes were on me from Colorado too. And so I was starting to get recruited from football, pretty heavy, and then track as well. And I think I told you yesterday, I might have had just as many letters or phone calls about track and field that I did for football. And I didn't go on too many recruiting visits, but the ones that I did go on, it always seemed like the track coach was there. Track was included in it. So it was like I was going to go do both. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like 2 visits in one, sort of. And then I chose Southwest Minnesota State. That's a Division II school in Marshall, Minnesota. And the reason why I chose that school was because they were one of 2 schools that wanted me to come play offense. And like I said before, I wanted to be a running back. That's what I felt like that was my position. And, I did play other positions too in high school and stuff. I played on the defensive side of the ball, and, I did all right. But I felt like that was I could excel at that the most, was being a running back. And, it was them. It was Southwest State and USD were the only 2 schools that were recruiting me as a running back because of my size. I was probably a few, just a shade under 6 feet and 150 pounds, 155 pounds soaking wet at the time I graduated. I was a hard gainer. I would eat, and I could never put on weight for the life of me, I really didn't, I was in the weight room, but I really didn't know, how to lift right. You'd get in there, you'd bench press, you'd squat, you'd do your leg extensions and leg curls, your arm curls, but I didn't know the science behind it. I didn't realize, how much time you needed to devote to being in there and the consistency of it. I just thought, if you're strong, you're strong. You know what I mean? If you put on weight, you put on weight. So I was kind of a hard gainer, and I was getting some letters and some phone calls from a couple Division I universities. I remember right before my family moved to South Dakota, Iowa State had sent a bunch of stuff over, and I remember my coach being like, "These guys are really interested in you. We need to possibly start planning. This is an opportunity." And then I go up to South Dakota, and all of a sudden I'm in a super small town, and actually the football was 9-man football. So at my senior year, I played 9-man football, and any school with Division I caliber school just kind of they quit watching, So I had all the area D2 schools watching me, and out of those two, those were the ones that wanted me to come play offense, and I chose Southwest Minnesota State. I just at the time felt like it was my best fit. So that's kind of the rundown there, how that worked.
Did you end up running track at all there or not?
Well, I didn't know, and here's why. It's because when I got there, I can't remember exactly how this happened or when it happened, but there was some gender equity issues, like Title IX had come in and replaced. They took away some sports and replaced them with others. And it was they had pulled the track program by the time I had gotten there, and I signed my letter of intent and whatever. And I remember my senior year during my senior year of high school. I remember we got out of school for the day to go to some career day thing, where they set up the booths and you go around and talk. Well, I already made my decision, and I was just there, just kind of going through the motions. And I saw the booth for Southwest State. And at the time, Southwest State, it's Southwest Minnesota State now. But I went up there and I was talking to the admissions rep and whatever, and I told him, actually, I'm coming here. I'm going to play football and talk. And then I brought up track and field, and they're like, "Oh, we pulled that program. There, we don't have track and field anymore." And I'm like, "What?
Oh,
you're serious?"
That's how you found out about it?
Yeah, that's the first time. And then when I got on campus, I remember inquiring. And my advisor there was actually the track coach, the old track coach, and he was like, this Title IX thing came in. They threw in wheelchair basketball and some other things, and that's kind of what happened there. And so I never got to run track in college, and that was, I've always been a big believer. You go through life, and you shouldn't have any regrets. If I didn't go the route I did, I probably would have never met you, and who knows? I'd be talking to you guys right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, would I have taken the same path? Would I have met my wife? Would I have my kids? I'm like, there's no regrets,
Yep.
But if I could go and do it over again, I'm going to say it would be tempting to go back and possibly pick a different school so I could have experienced track at the college level. And I think I mentioned when I was talking to you yesterday, I actually had gotten a phone call from the Kansas State track coach, and they had a runner down there that was from the area that had thrown my name in his ear, and he had called me and was like, "Hey, do you think this is something that you'd consider? What are your plans? And I told him I wanted to play football and stuff, and that was kind of my first priority. And, he was like, well, to be honest, what you're doing right now, because I was still jumping 22 feet. My goal was to jump 23 feet, but I was just like a hair shy, like a quarter inch shy from getting there in high school. And he was like, well, the kids that we bring in are, they're jumping a little farther than that, and what you're doing isn't necessarily scholarship, material. And he was like, but I feel confident that if you come here, you'll be coached and we'll get you to that where we need you so you can compete and score for us. So, I mean, that was, I'll never forget that phone call because, that's always in the back of my head. Like, man, if I could have, even if it wasn't Kansas State, if it was a different school, that I could have went to and just, been coached, because I was never really coached. I mean, I kind of just was self-taught and just kind of did everything on my own. I remember when I was still living in Colorado, there was a gentleman that coached track and field at a different school up closer to Denver, and we went to the same church. And, we met each other, and he was like, hey, one afternoon you should come hang out with me. I'll show you some stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I did, and he introduced me to the box. You get a little box that's a few inches off the ground, and then, you can kind of get height. You don't have to run a bunch of reps. You can, work on your takeoff, getting your foot underneath you, driving your knee and propelling yourself, and, work on landing in the pit, and you can do that over and over and over again. So if I had a coach, I'd say it was the box. I'd carry that box around with me during track season when I was a junior and senior. So, but yeah, like I said, if I could have, maybe got under the tutelage of a jumps coach, who knows what I could have done. Or, I was pretty fast too. My senior year, I actually set the state meet record for the class I was in the 100 meters. It wasn't the fastest time I had ran, but it was the fastest time ran at the state meet during my class for the time at a 10:9. So I could consistently run under 11 seconds. And up in South Dakota, that's hard to do because the wind is blowing all the time.
Yep.
You don't know, if it's going to snow or not. You don't know if it's raining. So it was nicer running in Colorado because, the weather's much nicer down there.
Yeah.
But yeah.